Ravish Kalantri arrived in Dubai with dreams of success. But investigators would later learn he carried secrets darker than anyone imagined. Samaira Vardhan followed him with hope, unaware that her discovery of one hidden document would seal her fate. Rohan Belsara moved silently in the background, leaving clues that made the case twist in unexpected directions. Inspector Leena Farouqi connected the scattered pieces and realized this wasn't just a marriage gone wrong. It was a network built on lies. And when Samaira's body resurfaced 6 months later, the truth that emerged was far more terrifying than the world was prepared to hear. Ravish, Kalantri, and Samaira Vardhan had always dreamed of building a life beyond the borders of India. They grew up in different cities, met during a design exhibition in Mumbai, and married within a year. Everyone around them admired the way they supported each other's careers. They weren't wealthy, but their ambitions made them believe that hard work could change their future. So when Ravish received an unexpected offer from a real estate marketing company in Dubai, they treated it like a golden opportunity. Families celebrated, friends cheered, and Samaira filled her diary with notes about the new chapter they were about to start. Within a month, they packed their belongings, sold their old furniture, and boarded a flight to Dubai with hopeful hearts. Their new home was a modest apartment in Al Nada. It wasn't large, but it felt bright. The glass windows showed a partial view of the city. It's the kind that made newcomers feel like they were entering a world where anything was possible. For a while, everything appeared perfect. Ravish woke up early for work, leaving with a sense of purpose, while Samaira adjusted her freelance interior design projects to fit her new time zone. They explored supermarkets, tasted new food, and took evening walks in the beautifully lit streets. Their social media accounts displayed smiles, scenic roads, and moments that looked almost cinematic. But real life rarely matches the images people share online. After the first few weeks, Samaira began noticing changes around her. Ravish's job turned out to be far more demanding than she expected. He returned late at night, sometimes after midnight, and often left before sunrise. He insisted that the real estate market was competitive and unpredictable. But Samaira sensed something else, something he wasn't ready to explain. Meanwhile, her own work life was becoming difficult. Finding clients in a new country was a challenge. She spent hours alone in the apartment trying to develop a routine that didn't feel monotonous. As the weeks passed, a strange silence settled between them. They still shared meals, but the connection felt weaker. Samaira tried staying busy by exploring new, interior design trends online, but the quietness of the apartment started bothering her. She told her cousin Mira in India that the atmosphere in the house felt different, as if something was shifting beneath the surface. Still, she tried to stay positive, believing that all couples needed time to adjust after a big move. Around the 3rd month, small but troubling signs began to appear. Ravish started keeping his phone locked at all times, something he never used to do. He took calls on the balcony, pacing back and forth, speaking in a low tone that Samaira couldn't decipher. His clothes often smelled of dust or metal, and some evenings, he returned home looking unusually tense. Whenever Samaira asked about his long work hours, he brushed it off. Since she wanted to avoid creating conflict, she decided to stop questioning him. Soon, she began noticing her own behavior changing. She withdrew from social media and reduced communication with her family. She told Mira she was simply busy, but the truth was harder to admit. She felt watched, even within her own home. Shadows in the hallway seemed longer than before. And late at night she heard faint sounds from the corridor as if someone stood outside their door. She tried convincing herself it was just the building settling, but the feeling never fully left her. Neighbors later revealed that they occasionally heard movement inside the apartment at odd hours. But nothing sounded violent enough to raise an alarm. No one ever saw Samaira regularly leaving the building. She spent most of her time indoors waiting for Ravish to come home, hoping their new life would eventually feel normal. Then, something changed drastically. For several days, Samaira stopped responding to messages altogether. Mira assumed she was busy, but when a week passed with no update, she grew worried. Meanwhile, the couple's online presence vanished completely. Their cheerful photos came to an abrupt stop, and even Ravish stopped posting anything. It was as if both had suddenly disappeared from their own lives. The turning point came early one morning, when the Indian embassy in Dubai contacted Samaira's family in Pune. The news landed like a thunderbolt. A cargo container that arrived at Mumbai port days earlier had been opened during a routine customs check. Inside, officers discovered Samaira's body. No one understood how she ended up there. No one knew when she died, and no one had any idea where Ravish was. Within hours, Dubai police launched a full investigation, turning a seemingly ordinary couple's life into a chilling mystery. The dream that once brought them to Dubai had suddenly transformed into a nightmare that was only beginning to reveal itself. Dubai police began their investigation at the apartment that Ravish and Samaira once shared, hoping the rooms they lived in would reveal the truth behind Samaira's tragic end. The building looked ordinary from the outside: clean walls, quiet hallways, and a security desk where guards rarely saw anything unusual. But the moment the officers unlocked the couple's door, the air inside felt heavy, like the space had been holding secrets for months. The living room looked too perfect. The cushions on the sofa were arranged neatly, the shelves dust-free, and every object seemed placed with careful intention. It was the kind of neatness that didn't feel natural. Inspector Leena Farouqi noticed it instantly. She had seen many crime scenes, and she knew that overly clean spaces often suggested that someone wanted to erase something. Even the faint scent in the room felt strange, as though strong cleaning chemicals had been used not long ago. The officers checked Samaira's wardrobe next. Her clothes were organized by color, almost unnaturally tidy. Yet something important was missing. Her design kits, sketchbooks, and digital tools were nowhere in sight. Her laptop, which she used daily for freelance work, couldn't be found either. Her phone was missing too. These weren't items someone would pack away for a trip. They were items someone wanted removed. The kitchen revealed nothing unusual, but the bedroom offered a clue. A drawer under the bed contained a file labeled bank records. Inside were printed statements from a joint Indian account Samaira did not know existed. The balance showed frequent large withdrawals over the past few months, all made at night. The activity did not match the couple's known finances. Ravish's salary couldn't support the amounts withdrawn. This meant the money was coming from somewhere else, somewhere Samaira might have discovered. While going through the apartment access logs, police found another surprise. Multiple entries had been made using a second keycard, one belonging to a man named Rohan Belsara. He wasn't listed as a tenant or a known visitor. His presence raised questions about how often he entered the home and why he had access in the first place. The investigators then studied the building's CCTV recordings from the previous months. At first, nothing seemed unusual. But soon, patterns emerged that pointed to something alarming. On several nights, Ravish and another man later identified as Rohan were seen carrying heavy bags from the apartment to a rented white van parked outside. Their movements looked coordinated, almost rehearsed, as if they had done it many times. Samaira was never seen with them during these late-night activities. The most critical moment appeared in the footage from the night Samaira likely disappeared. The camera on their floor showed Ravish entering the apartment, but after that, the recording suddenly cut off. The screen went black for hours before returning to normal the next morning. A power failure was unlikely because all other cameras in the building worked during that time. Someone had manually disabled that specific camera. Inspector Farouqi's team searched deeper, examining the apartment's corners and floor tiles. In the storage area, near the entrance, they found something small, but crucial: a faint discoloration on a tile, one that didn't match the ones around it. When the forensic team scanned it, they detected remnants of high-strength cleaning liquids used to remove biological material. This suggested that something serious had occurred there and someone had tried to scrub away all traces. Down in the basement parking area, officers found more evidence. A particular spot where the couple's rented van was usually parked had visible marks of cleaning powder, indicating that someone cleaned the ground there recently. A chemical test later confirmed traces similar to those found inside the apartment. The basement had become part of the crime. These discoveries shifted the case from a missing person investigation to a suspicious death case. The apartment that once symbolized a fresh start for the couple had now become a silent witness to a hidden tragedy. Every detail, Every clean surface, every missing object suggested a carefully executed plan. Inspector Farouqi realized they were dealing with someone who understood how investigations worked. Someone who didn't panic after the incident, but instead took calculated steps to erase evidence. The neatness, the missing laptop, the tampered CCTV. The nighttime movements all pointed to a truth far darker than anyone first imagined. And if the apartment was only the beginning, the rest of the story was waiting somewhere outside, where more clues would soon reveal what really happened to Samaira Vardhan. When police discovered the second keycard belonging to Rohan Belsara, the investigation shifted instantly. Until then, most signs pointed only to Ravish. But the presence of another person with access to the couple's apartment added a layer of complexity. Rohan wasn't just a colleague from work. He was deeply connected to Ravish in ways the investigators had not expected. They pulled his employment records and discovered he was the one who originally helped. Ravish secured the job in Dubai. Their partnership wasn't casual. It was built on years of association reaching far beyond simple office responsibilities. As investigators dug deeper into Rohan's background, they uncovered a link to a series of suspicious business transactions. Rohan and Ravish had registered a small marketing consultancy on paper, but the company had no official clients and no traceable projects. The only visible activity was frequent international transfers, always made in odd amounts designed to avoid detection. This pattern matched known techniques used by illegal property networks that connected foreign investors with unauthorized projects. It was the kind of operation that hid behind normal-looking businesses, staying invisible unless someone knew where to look. The connection began to explain some of the financial anomalies found in Ravish and Samaira's bank records. Rohan's involvement meant that Ravish wasn't acting alone. It also hinted at why large withdrawals were made during late-night hours. These weren't transactions tied to personal expenses. They were deliberate moves linked to something far more dangerous. As the investigation expanded, digital analysts recovered data from the building's access logs and connected Rohan's entries with the suspicious nights captured on CCTV. The two men had entered and exited the apartment multiple times over 3 months. Their movements were careful, always late and always with large, heavy bags. None of these visits were recorded during normal business hours. This secrecy suggested that the apartment might have been more than a home. It may have been a temporary storage location for materials tied to their illegal operations. The next breakthrough came from emails recovered from Ravish's work server. Investigators found an encrypted folder containing communication between Ravish and Rohan. Although most files were corrupt or deleted, one recovered draft hinted at internal tensions. The message included references to someone finding out too much, and warnings about the risk of keeping certain documents in the apartment. This clue redirected the investigation towards Samaira's role in the unfolding events. It became clear that Samaira had unknowingly stepped into the middle of something she wasn't supposed to see. As a designer working from home, she had access to Ravish's devices. She likely discovered the hidden files or noticed unusual patterns in his activities. Perhaps she searched through his documents one day and saw the unregistered company details. Or maybe she viewed one of the encrypted payment lists by accident. Whatever she saw, it was enough to make her feel unsafe. Something she quietly hinted at in messages to her cousin Mira. With this new angle, investigators reanalyzed the time frame leading up to Samaira's disappearance. They reviewed the couple's phone records and discovered something chilling. A week before she vanished, Samaira attempted to contact a legal service provider in Dubai. The call was short and wasn't followed up, but it indicated that she might have been planning to take action. She may have intended to report Ravish's activities or simply to seek advice. Either way, someone in the network could have intercepted the information. Dubai police then turned their focus to the warehouse near Jebel Ali Port. The location linked to the container in which Samaira's body was found. The warehouse was officially registered under a supply chain company, but records revealed frequent late-night entries made with access cards belonging to Rohan. Security logs showed that both Ravish and Rohan had visited that location repeatedly. When investigators searched the facility, they uncovered shipment lists, hidden compartments, encoded inventory labels used to disguise the network's illegal trade items. Among them was the shipment number of the container that carried Samaira's remains. The discovery of this match was a turning point. It proved that her death wasn't accidental or impulsive. It was part of a coordinated plan that involved both men and, possibly, others. The fact that the container was originally not even meant for India added another layer of confusion. Someone had rerouted it after the crime. Someone wanted the body discovered, but only after a long delay. The strongest blow came when Rohan attempted to flee Dubai. His arrest at the airport revealed documents hidden in his luggage, tying Ravish to underground loan brokers and illegal investors from multiple countries. It became clear that Rohan wasn't simply Ravish's co-worker. He was part of a larger, dangerous circle, and Samaira's discovery had threatened all of them. What investigators found next would show that her death was not just a domestic tragedy, but a consequence of stumbling into a world where secrets were protected at any cost. For 6 long months after Samaira vanished, Ravish lived like a man who had cut himself away from his past. He left the apartment he once shared with her and moved into a small, worn-down room in a low-profile building far from the city center. It was the kind of place where people rented rooms without asking questions, where neighbors didn't bother learning each other's names. Ravish changed his schedule, avoided crowded malls, and never stayed in one area for too long. It was as if he believed he could outrun the truth, yet every step he took, every movement he made, only pushed him deeper into suspicion. Dubai police tracked his financial activity and quickly noticed that he had abandoned his earlier pattern of large withdrawals. Instead, he began pulling out small amounts of money from different ATMs scattered across the city. Sometimes he traveled across districts just to withdraw a few hundred dirhams. This kind of behavior wasn't normal. It was a survival pattern often seen in fugitives, people who feared being noticed, people who felt they were being watched. At the same time, investigators were receiving new information from India. Samaira's cousin Mira, unable to accept her death without answers, had been quietly collecting anything she could find that might help the case. While going through an old backup of Samaira's emails, she discovered a series of drafts Samaira had written but never sent. One draft mentioned how she accidentally found a document containing suspicious names, payments, and a list of properties linked to foreign investors. The email didn't reveal everything, but it confirmed that Samaira had stumbled onto information connected to Ravish's illegal activities. When Myra forwarded these drafts to the authorities, it changed the entire direction of the investigation. The email proved that Samaira knew something dangerous long before she disappeared. This meant that her death was not a random crime or a sudden argument that turned fatal. It was linked to something bigger and darker. Meanwhile, forensic investigators in Dubai uncovered another disturbing detail about the container in which Samaira's body was found. The shipment was never scheduled to be sent to India. Its original route was set for a different country entirely, one connected to the illegal network Ravish and Rohan were working with. At some point, the container's destination was altered under a false identity. No official records showed who made the change. The modification happened through a manual entry at a time when the warehouse system was operating with limited staff. This led investigators to a chilling possibility: someone within the illegal network tampered with the shipment after Samaira's death. But the question remained, why send her body to India? And why delay the discovery for nearly half a year? The delay seemed intentional, almost as if the person responsible wanted the crime to be exposed, but not immediately. This suggested internal conflict, possibly revenge or retaliation within the same group Ravish belonged to. As detectives continued retracing Ravish's steps, they discovered he had quit his job 2 weeks after Samaira disappeared. His resignation came without warning and without explanation. He moved through several temporary accommodations, never staying long enough to draw attention. His behavior showed signs of stress. He made unpredictable trips outside the city, avoided using the same routes twice, and even purchased a second-hand phone under a fake name. He was hiding from someone, but it wasn't the police. His fear seemed deeper, almost desperate. Back in India, Samaira's family grieved without understanding how her body ended up in a container thousands of kilometers away. They didn't know that the truth was slowly forming across multiple layers of investigations. What began as a missing person case had now become a web of international crime, betrayal, and hidden motives. The investigation grew even more intense when police discovered a deleted GPS trail from a vehicle Ravish had used frequently. The trail led to a remote industrial area near South Kal, near Stubalali. It matched the timeline during which the container was prepared for shipment. This link put him dangerously close to the scene where Samaira's body was hidden. Multiple agencies now worked together, connecting financial evidence, digital footprints, warehouse logs, and movement patterns. Each piece of information pointed to a truth darker than anyone had expected. Not only had Ravish been involved in illegal property schemes, but he had also become entangled with people who controlled networks far beyond his understanding. The 6 months between Samaira's death and her body being found were no accident. They were part of a larger plan, shaped by people who operated in silence, people Ravish thought he could trust, till he realized he was just as disposable as the secrets he tried to protect. And when investigators finally tracked where he had gone next, they found that the story was far from over. When investigators finally located Ravish Kalantri, he was living in an abandoned workers' housing block near Sharjah's industrial zone. The building was silent, half-lit, and nearly collapsing from neglect. The hallway smelled of rust and dust, and the rooms were filled with broken furniture. It was the kind of place people chose only when they wanted to disappear. Ravish had been sleeping on a thin mattress, eating instant meals, and surviving on whatever cash he withdrew in small amounts across the city. His once confident appearance had faded. He looked haunted, restless, and exhausted. It seemed as though he had spent 6 months running, not just from authorities, but from shadows that followed him everywhere. Dubai police captured him without resistance, but what struck investigators the most was his expression. He didn't look angry or surprised. He looked relieved, almost as if surrendering to the police felt safer than staying on the run. This made one thing clear. Someone besides law enforcement had been chasing him. Forensic teams began assembling the evidence gathered from the apartment, the warehouse, the bank accounts, and Rohan's intercepted documents. When they laid everything out, a clear picture started to form. Chemical residues from the couple's apartment matched traces found at the warehouse where the container had been sealed. The cleaning liquids, the wiped surfaces, the missing items, and the nighttime movements all connected perfectly. Ravish had been present during the hours leading to Samaira's death, and he had worked to erase what happened afterward. But the deeper investigators dug, the more unexpected layers they uncovered. Rohan's confiscated laptop contained files that exposed the internal structure of the illegal real estate network. It wasn't just a small side business. It was a multi-country chain of unregistered brokers, higher-risk investors, and money launderers. Their operations depended on secrecy and loyalty. Anyone who threatened to expose them faced consequences. One of the recovered files referenced an argument between Ravish and members of the network. The notes suggested that he wanted to pull out of the illegal operation. Pressure had been building for months because Samaira had seen documents she wasn't meant to see. Ravish knew she had accidentally discovered the hidden files, and he also knew she was planning to seek legal advice. This put both of them on a dangerous path. Instead of protecting her, he tried to protect himself. Tracing phone signals from the weeks before Samaira's disappearance revealed a shocking detail. Ravish had visited a remote location with several men linked to the network. The meeting took place late at night, and immediately after it, his behavior changed dramatically. Investigators concluded that Ravish had been given an ultimatum: silence, Samaira, or risk retaliation from the entire operation. He made a devastating choice. Rather than confess or fight, he attempted to save himself by removing the only person who could expose him. After Samaira's death, Ravish transported her body to the warehouse. With the help of Rohan, they placed her inside one of the unlisted containers used by the network. The plan was to send it through routes where shipment checks were minimal. But things didn't go as Ravish expected. Someone inside the organization discovered what he had done and decided to punish him. The container was rerouted to India, but not immediately. The delay ensured that Ravish would spend months in fear, waiting for the truth to surface while believing he had escaped. When customs officers in Mumbai opened the container during a random inspection 6 months later, the entire operation began to unravel. The rerouting wasn't a mistake. It was an act of revenge. Someone within the criminal circle wanted the body found so Ravish would be exposed and destroyed. This explained why Ravish looked terrified throughout the months he spent in hiding. He wasn't evading only the police. He was evading the same people he once worked for. In court, overwhelming evidence linked him to the crime. Ravish received a life sentence, and his testimony helped authorities begin dismantling the illegal network piece by piece. Rohan agreed to cooperate in exchange for reduced punishment. Revealing the names of other members who operated across different countries, international agencies joined hands, seizing accounts, shutting down operations, and exposing hidden connections. Samaira's family took her ashes home to Pune, finally given answers to the mystery that had consumed their lives. Mira, who had never stopped searching for the truth, ensured Samaira received the dignity she was denied in her final moments. In the end, the story became more than just a tragic tale of a couple who moved abroad for a better life. It became a chilling reminder of how secrets, greed, and fear can destroy everything. Even the most carefully concealed crimes eventually rise to the surface, dragged into the light by unexpected hands. And sometimes the truth doesn't come from justice. It comes from inside the darkness itself.